Hey everyone, welcome to Candidly Single Mom. I'm your host Jeneen, where we talk all things single parenthood journey. And as you can see, guess what? I have a special guest on today. This is my actual brother from the same mother and father, Damon. And so I want to welcome him in. Damon, welcome in. Can you let people know just a little bit about yourself?
Hello. Yes, I am Janeen's oldest brother, Damon Watts. A little bit about me. Served in the military for 22 years on submarines. I retired back in 18. Been living out here in California for since 2009, but I have traveled all around the world. Pretty much retired in 18 and then got me a job and working like most people do. I was lucky and blessed enough to have a job after serving our country and got educated while doing that and getting my degree in logistics. And I am married with two younger kids. My wife has three kids of her own. Two are older, and one lives pretty much with us.
That's good. And so I know you all are probably asking the question, why do I have him on my particular podcast? But my brother has an amazing story, and he's been on a journey of, I would say, maybe single parenthood for a short period of time. And then, of course, like you mentioned, he's currently married. But during that time that you were being a single father, and I think it's super important that we have voices of men that are single parents or have experienced single parenthood to come on and share their story. I know that we've talked a lot because, of course, we're siblings and we're really close. But I wanted to bring you on because I wanted you to talk about just the time that you were kind of navigating single parenthood and what that looked like as you as a male and especially as a black male. So wherever you want to start, we're going to have just a regular conversation. I might ask a couple of questions, but I definitely want you to just share your story, share your journey of the experience that you've had during the time that you were raising your two kids kind of on your own. Maybe we had some co-parenting there, but go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk.
Right. So yes, I was married before. Had two kids by my ex-wife, both special needs. So being a parent to a special needs kid is a challenge in itself, right? Because there's a lot of things that you don't know. There's a lot of things that you have to accommodate for. Um, there's not like, that they say like, we're ordinary and special needs kids, they're extraordinary. So they require, or you need to learn them as much as they need to learn you, but it's more you need learning them because of their abilities. I won't say disabilities, I would say abilities, because they have special abilities. My daughter, she has a rare genetic disease. She has an extra set of chromosomes. She's probably the face of the it's called diploid triploid mosaicism. So if you look that up, you'll see her face on there. My son, he's highly functioning autistic, and they're young, right? So you're trying to raise them the best you can. My daughter's not going to go up and grow up and start doing a whole bunch of sports because she's not ambulatory, but that part is challenging in itself, and especially after my ex-wife and I, when we divorced, it was pretty toxic. So, and I went through a lot with that. Like I couldn't see my kids, lives going back and forth. But when I did have my kids and working a full-time job, it was very difficult in trying to balance those things. Coming into work late, leaving work early, having to see, letting your boss know, like, hey, this is my situation, even though they understand. I'm pretty sure in the back of their mind, like, oh man, he wasn't getting any production out of them. Even though when I get to work, it's like, I'm focused. But at a moment's notice, school calls, I have to go, and that's happened plenty of times. So it's those things that poses a good, like a challenge, if you will,
Mhm.
trying to navigate that field. And especially at the time when I was freshly divorced, didn't know my wife at the time. It was hard, to say the least. It was
Yeah.
hard. It was a lot of nights of wondering, like, what am I doing? How am I doing this? Because naturally, moms are the nurturers, and and I was raised to be like, okay, you're a provider, you're a provider, you're a provider. You make sure you go out and do your job and don't get in trouble and bring home the bacon type thing. Come home, play with your kids, and then that's good. I'm been put into a role of trying to be more nurturing and understanding of what my kids need and what they want.
Yeah, you said a couple of things there. One is just navigating. It's not just you in that space of being a single father, it's being a single father to children with special needs and having to navigate that. And then also you learning how to be the nurturer because you were kind of the all in one. And I think that's kind of a similar experience I've had. You know, you on the end, you had to be the nurturer. Me, I had to be the breadwinner. I'm bringing home the bacon, nurturing the kids, disciplining the kids. And some of those things were super different for me to navigate. I had to kind of put on certain roles. And so for you, you had to put on that role of being more of a nurturer. So talk more about like just what a typical day would have been like for you in this period of having to be the one parent for your kids. What did that look like?
Okay, well, so I got custody of my kids in December, like late December, right before Christmas. I had moved into an apartment. Ex had the wife. The ex had the wife. Ex had the house. I moved into an apartment, and everything's brand new, right? Because I don't have any furniture, right? So I'm scrambling and trying to get what I can get, from friends and family. So I'm trying to build this home for my kids now that I have.
Mhm.
So a typical day when I get them, a typical day would be, and mind you, I am new to this, having my first two kids biologically of my own, special needs. So I am pretty new to navigating this. A typical day, my daughter Charlotte, she's the oldest. She doesn't talk. She'll crawl around. She's not walking, but she'll scream, just scream, and I have to decipher that and say, well, what do you need? What do you need? My son, highly functioning autistic, he doesn't comprehend as well as I think he should, but that may be the autism. So I was like, okay, if I tell him to do something, he'll just go off on a tangent. So it's very frustrating. You have who I am as a provider, not really the nurturer type. I have to learn to play that role to come into that and learn that. In the beginning, it's more, my daughter, she's screaming, 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 throwing stuff. Oh, and I'm like, what's going on? I got to, cooking dinner, and I know most of the moms like, yeah, yeah, that's right. We've done it all. So on that side, I can appreciate like, okay, you are doing it all. So this is my first taste of that, and it's just like thrown in my lap. It's just like chaos in the home. It's chaos. And that's the word, that's the best way I can describe it. It is chaos to begin with. And I'm frustrated, and then I know that the way I feel, it, can transpose onto them. They're like, well, daddy's frustrated. He's mad. So let's get angry, and they'll start screaming, and my son doesn't know what to do. It was a lot, Janine. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Happened for a long time until we had to sit down and talk about it. And I'm blessed because my wife now, she came into my life shortly around that time, and it was like a breath of fresh air because she knew, she worked with, special needs kids. She was a para. She knows sign language. So even though my daughter didn't speak, she was teaching her sign language. And she taught me sign language. So that's how we started to communicate, being more patient with my son, because, any dad would be like, okay, son, let's throw around this ball. I tell you to do something, let's go ahead and do it. There might be a little bit, but he's not that kid. He's not that kid. He loves math. We got a piano or a keyboard. He wants to start playing that. I'm like, I'm trying to find something that we can bridge that gap. Me and him can bridge that gap. Me and my daughter can bridge that gap. But in the beginning, yes, utter chaos. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
Because there was a lot of learning that you had to do for pretty fast and pretty quickly.
But yeah,
Yeah.
by far, by far. And then putting work on top of that. There is no
Mhm.
social life. There is no social life after that. You are geared towards doing something that you've always done for a while. You go to work, you come home, dinner's ready, or you play with the kids, or you may cook dinner, or you have fun, and then everything is just uprooted and disrupted. Now you go to work, you pick the kids up from school, you come home, you do the dinners, the bathing, the homework, and then you go to sleep, hopefully, if the kids are not screaming through the night because they don't want to go to sleep, and then you got to wake up in the morning and do it all over again and go to
and
work.
do it all over again.
Right. So it is was something. It just causes your brain to be like, there's a lot
I
of
mean, even
breakdowns, a lot of
emotionally,
breakdowns.
right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
even emotionally, how are you even coping in this situation? Because again, like I mentioned before, I talked about how do I raise children when I'm experiencing the death of a marriage. So I'm still healing, but I have this responsibility. Like there's nobody else. So how are you navigating that?
it's a lot of honestly, it's a lot of prayer. I talk to mom and dad, and
Yeah.
you know how mom and dad is, and it's
Well, you know,
they.
we gonna say it on the podcast, but we know.
But and they are understanding to a certain point, but they don't know either the accommodations that my kids see, right? They've
Right.
never dealt with that, not to this extent. It's and talking to you, obviously, it's you have to get outside of that area to vent, if you
Hmm.
will,
Hmm.
to talk about it. Because if
Hmm.
you don't and it gets all pent up inside, then you'll just implode. It's something else because you feel as if you're the only one going through it. You feel as though that you are by yourself dealing with this.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
felt like that plenty of times. Like nobody goes through this.
Yeah.
There was no black man on the planet on this planet that has a child with a rare genetic disorder, a son that is autistic, being divorced, being kicked out of your own home, and having to go into an apartment, and then having all these responsibilities, and so you don't know. You don't
Yeah.
know.
And it's almost, you know, sometimes you're isolated because of the routine of the day and the responsibilities that you have,
Right.
that you probably don't have that perspective of understanding, okay, there are other people that are like me. Or you probably
Right.
don't even care. You know, you don't even care because you're just in it. You're in the trenches. So I think that it was important, even as I kind of think about my experience, to have people that you can trust, that you can talk to. And so that was, you know, the part, even during certain situations, like I was like, Damon, if you need to call me, give me a call. And we're what, 3 hours as far
Yeah.
as the
Three
time
hours time
line?
difference. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, when you
You're
would
on the
call me,
you're on
I'm
the
like,
East Coast and I'm on the West
right.
Coast.
Right. So I was like sensitive to the fact of what you were going through because one, I've experienced something similar, maybe not as heavy with the responsibilities of, having special need children, but just being there for you because it's hard when you feel like you're alone. And then when you're alone, the thoughts that you have in your mind might not be as healthy. And what you're thinking about, you're magnifying it. And it's almost as truth, right? So if you're magnifying, thinking about the negative and everything is negative and bad, you're magnifying it. And then it's starting to become truth for you, which is not necessarily really like the truth, right? Your perception is off.
Right.
So,
You wrestle with
yeah.
yourself. You wrestle with your mind
Hmm.
daily. Your
Hmm.
mind will tell you certain things, and or you will say that you can't do anything, and your mind will feed into that, and it's like, and you just feel defeated. It's like one of the worst times to be separated from your village, from your family.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
my fam you guys are East Coast. I'm East
Mhm.
Coast, but I live out here on the West. So
Yeah.
I don't have I didn't have that. I didn't have that, right? So for you guys to catch a flight and come out here was
Hmm.
money and time spent away from your work, your things that you have to do. And it was just a recipe for like just a whole bunch of disaster to come. For me to come to the East Coast was like pretty much just like ain't gonna happen because I'm going through this divorce. I can't take my kids out of the state. It's like how can I travel with my daughter and she's like this? So
Yeah.
it's like and then you feel a little bit of embarrassment because it's like I'm not going outside. I'm not taking them anywhere. Where you gonna figure this out? So honestly, and I hate to admit it, honestly, wasn't taking them anywhere. We would go maybe outside to in the parking lot and play around, open the garage and play around in my apartment, but
Hmm.
going out to eat, no. Going to the park, yeah, maybe not. You can stay right here. We'll watch a movie. I will play with you here in the house. But they need to be socialized, right?
Right,
So,
you're
and
right.
that's a lot of those things is it was hard, extremely difficult for me. Extremely
I
difficult.
want to circle back on a couple of things because one, when you said, when you talked about us catching a flight and the money, like for you, it's worth it, right? And so,
Yeah.
I'm naturally a protector. I'm a fight if I have to fight. But, for me to get on the plane and to come and assist and help, it's no bother because you're my brother and my niece and nephew and y'all are family. So I count it as an honor to be able to come in and assist however I can. One, because I'm your sister, but on the other end, it's I understand what you were going through, maybe not at the extent, but I understood because I was traveling a similar road. And for me, even though I had family here, I still wasn't telling them all that was going on
Right, right.
because I just didn't want people tend to bring their advice and it's ill advice, their judgment. People tend to own your pain as their own and not understanding that they need to be like a pillar for you because you're the one that needs the assistance. And so
Right.
based on some of my experiences, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell you as much, but I hope that, in that moment, however long that was, that I was a good support to you.
Yeah, and you were because talking to you and talking to anybody else in our family is different, right?
Mhm.
The way I talk to you is different than the way I talk to, mom and dad or Lorinda or Demar. It's different, right? So, it's a familiarity, right? You have gone through some stuff kind of on the same level as I'm going through stuff,
Mhm.
right? We both been through divorce. None of our other siblings went through divorce, but we both went through divorce and we both, were navigating that. So talking to you about certain things was a great help. God bless our parents. It was more of a why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? I told you to do this. Why don't you do this? I wouldn't do this. I would and
Right.
God bless them and they were trying to help out, but they don't know the the whole background, right?
Their
So
perspective's
you
different.
only
A different
right.
generation
So
too.
so you only choose to share what you need to share because you already know if you share anything more than that, then it's going to be more of you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, it's like, don't you think I've tried that? Don't you think this is what I've been doing? I'm just trying to vent and trying to figure out if there's any other way to do this. But so that's what it was. You want to talk with somebody who's kind of been in your shoes or kind of understands what you're kind of going through,
Mhm.
and that probably helps you out. So that was a great.
Do you feel like you had a village in California, like other men, male friends? Okay. Why is that?
No, there was no village here.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew, and I tried to keep that under wraps, right? Nobody really knew everything that I was going through. And then when they find out, because, my ex is prominent on different media sites, so they gravitate towards that as entertainment. So, and that
Yeah.
affected a lot of things
Celebrityism,
that,
right?
second,
Celebrityism.
right, exactly. So that affected obviously me and my kids,
Mhm.
my job, you know
Mhm.
a lot of things happened during that time. And it was for lack of words, I was pissed off. I was highly upset. All the accusations, everything, and then I go to work and like, oh, your ex-wife said this. I'm like, what do you like? Come on.
Wow.
I come here to work. I come here to work. I don't want to hear about all this other crap, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I felt like I had to defend myself at time. I'm like, well, and this is probably my fault, saying, well, this is what happened. This is this and this and this. It's not that it's none of their business, but it's like, here I am at work. They're already following what they're going to follow and
Mhm.
listening to what they're going to listen. I've been harassed, she was telling me, like, "Oh yeah, the gate guard is gonna not let you on base because he heard about this and this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Wow.
And that affected the kids also. She didn't
Yeah.
know that, but she would put them on videos and stuff. I'm like, "No, I don't consent to that," but she still would and still talk her stuff about me, which was crazy. So that caused, even though you're divorced, and you have kids together, it's better if you try to get along with the ex, even though you didn't get
Right.
along in the marriage. It's not
Mhm.
about you two, it's about the kids, right? And she
Mhm.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
She didn't see it. But there, I
How
mean,
was your
there's so much, Janine, so much.
I know. I know. And I know we've talked
Yeah,
offline, y'all, about a lot of things that he navigated through. And, there's certain words and things that I wish I could share, but I won't, about just some of the things that you've experienced with your ex. And one of the things I'll tell you, I even had some people, colleagues or what have you, they were like, Janine, let's go to California. Let's go. But trying to be able to co-parent and navigate this with a little bit of grace, even though
right,
you're dealing with the difficulties that were probably more magnified just because of the situation, that's hard in and of itself.
right.
Because you want to be, we all want to be like Michelle Obama, but sometimes we want to go a little bit lower. When they go low, we go to hell. You know what I mean? Like that's the type
Yeah,
of thing. And I've been there. I've been
it's
there.
the whole limbo. It's the whole limbo thing. Oh, you can go low, I can go lower. I can go.
Right,
But
right, right. But
but
we're
you know
we're
what?
gonna be Michelle Obamas.
But what I have learned through all this,
Mhm,
and it goes back to our upbringing, like I
mm,
know now what my parents were talking about. Do not be unevenly yoked. I know what that
mm.
means.
Yeah,
I know what that means. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and we were unevenly yoked. We didn't see things the same way. We were raised in different we were raised different. And it was like, the light just came on. I was like, wow, that's what they meant. That's what that means. Because now I'm going through it. Now it's done. Now I'm going through it. In respect to the kids, it was like, oh, go ahead and let them do whatever. I'm like, no, there's structure. There has to be structure. I was raised up in structure. She wasn't raised up in structure. So she's not going to raise our kids up in structure. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. So it's a difference, right? They
Mhm.
come to me.
Parenting styles. Right,
Right.
yeah.
So they come to me, and it's difficult for the kids. They're young. So they come to me, and it's structure. It is, you're going to sit down and eat dinner with the family. We're going to say our grace. We're going to do some work around the house. We're going to do our responsibilities, our chores. Over there, it's not that. It is, you can play games, get on this Xbox, PSP, whatever. You can play games. I'm going to play some games with you until the morning. We can play games before you go to school. You can play games when you come home from school. I am not that person. I'm not that parent. I'm like, how was your school? How was school? Did you get in trouble? Let me talk to your teacher. Let me go to this conference here because I need to know what's going on. No, no, it wasn't over there.
Yeah, that's similar to what I experienced, and my kids were gone for the summer.
Right.
So, they would go for the summer and live in La Vida Loca, whatever you want to call it. When
La
they came
vida
back
loca.
right, it was the structure because they were coming back to school. And so there was a little bit of kind of unlearning a parental style and relearning the parental style for my home. And that was causing a little bit of confusion, right?
Right.
Gosh, I remember Ayana, she's the bold one. She's the one that will say whatever. But
Yeah.
her coming back home and being upset because I wasn't like her dad and her girlfriend and his girlfriend. And so she boldly told me, she was like, "You're not my mom. So and so is my mom," as a
Oh,
3 year
wow.
old. Yeah, she said,
Wow.
"It hurt my feelings so bad. It hurt my feelings." But then it was like, "You're 3, you really don't know what you're saying, but what you're experiencing is the euphoria of being in a household with no structure and then having to come home to one structure, but then having to come home to a single parent. Like there's no father figure here." So, I understand what you experienced. Yeah, in that respect.
Hey, even my son, he was like, every time he comes over, he's like, Daddy, what day is it? I'm like, why? When do I go back to mommy's? I'm like, are you serious? You don't want to stay here with me? You don't want to kick it with me? Well, yeah, I do, but I just want to know what day. I said, yeah. I said, because mommy let you do whatever you want to do. But on the flip side of that, when they get older, guess who's going
Mhm.
to have the hard time? And I wholeheartedly believe this. My son is only 8. If
Yeah.
he gets to do what he wants to do over there, when he starts becoming a teenager,
Yeah.
he's really going to rule that house. Over here, I have none of that. None of that. No, 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 no. Because it's like they say, train up a child in the way they should go, right?
Right.
So it's
Mhm.
like, you're not doing that over there. I don't feel as though you are because evidence shows that, you know? I mean, obviously, there's no manual to raising kids, right? So you make mistakes along. But if you have, certain instances and certain things come out because of your parenting style, then you may want to rethink
Mhm.
that. You may want to kind of switch that up. And I'm not
Well,
saying
I'll
I'm
tell
the
you
best
this.
parent, but
Yeah, I'll tell you this because, because your kids are younger, right? And you're kind of experiencing what I have with them kind of pushing against me because their dad's household was the funner household. But in the
right,
conversations that I have with them now at 16 and 19, like they have seen things and experienced things where it has blemished their image of their father to the point to where in some cases they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to go over there. They don't want to, like, now that they're older, I give them a choice. You can spend the summer with your dad. No, I don't want to go over there. A, B, C, and D. So now they're seeing the things that maybe they thought were fun when they were younger that really wasn't helpful. And really, honestly, it's a struggle, especially for Ayana. And I'm working with her to help her navigate because girls need their fathers. And I didn't fully realize it until certain things that Ayana would say, the passion that she had about it, the heartbreak that she had about it. And these are things that are recently kind of coming about as far as how she feels. And so now I have to navigate her through that so she can be healthy, and kind of enjoy adulthood. You know what I mean? Because this does even affect her as far as whether she wants to be married or not. So those are the things I would say, Damon. Like, there's going to be a shift. Your kids are going to appreciate your household, but then there's some things, especially with your son, that you're probably going to have to work with him a little bit further on once it comes to the realization of maybe some gaps that he experienced at his mom's house.
right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. There's a lot of relearning and a lot of teaching that I have to give him every single time he comes, to stay with me,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that some of that just sticks. It just takes hold and
Mhm.
that he just remembers that.
Yeah.
He sees there's a difference. He sees there's a difference because
Mhm.
even when he comes over here, he'll start going towards the game. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You forgot where you are? You forgot whose house you're in? He says, oh, okay, yeah. But there has been some positives in there as far as me and my wife have influenced him enough to be like, he doesn't have outbursts. He's always had an issue with his behavioral,
Mhm.
the way he behaves at school, at home, stomping, yelling,
Mhm.
throwing, kicking, stuff like that. But he doesn't do that anymore over here. I,
Yeah.
I hear about it at school sometimes, and then I talk to the teacher whenever they tell me because I don't know. But I looking at how he gets dressed in the morning, his morning dictates the rest of his day. And
Mhm.
that's what they're telling me. If he wakes up, play games in the morning, and he has to get off the Xbox or whatever because he has to go to school, then he's mad.
Yeah.
So that just it goes for his whole day. Even
Yeah.
his diet over there isn't good. It's home cooked meals over here. I don't know what's over there, but it's always
What's going on
McDonald's
there?
over here and stuff like that. So
Right. So, I mean, it's the navigating co-parenting, and having to make adjustments because you can't really dictate what goes in the other household, which is a challenge. Like, that's super hard.
right, I had a
Super
hard
hard.
time with that. Hard
Yeah.
time with that.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah,
ask you a question.
I can't tell you what you need to do in your household.
Right.
Even though I want to, and I probably have, and she'll come back like, "You can't tell me anything over here." Well, she's
Right.
right. She's right.
Right. But if the focus is solely on the kids, then as two parents, there shouldn't be any type of conflict if everybody's trying to do something that's making it healthy. right? So learning from one another, making sure that there's not such a disconnect between the two households would be an ideal co-parenting relationship.
All
But
right.
most people don't have that, right?
All right.
Me, you, we don't have that. Let me ask you a question
Uh,
because we're talking about a lot of different topics here, but with you in regards to the court system, because this was a conversation I had recently, as far as the courts really kind of siding more on the mother's side when it comes to dividing up the parental roles or custody. Like, what is your experience about in regards to that? And what are your thoughts in regards to that, especially being a Black male?
yeah, I've always, well, let me say I haven't always, until I got into the court system. Then I figured out, I'm like, why is this happening? This is just plain as day. What she did was wrong. Why isn't anybody holding her accountable for what she does? Now, we went through the court system and we had a mediator, and we both have degrees, master's degrees. She graduated cum laude, and I'm like, okay, so she can get a job. She's good to go. And I
Yeah.
spent all kinds of money saying that she's able, willing, and able. But no, you shall do this. You shall do that. You will give her the house. She's responsible for making the mortgage. You pay that. You give her the money so she can make the mortgage. She needs to pay for the car. So she's got to pay that car out of that. Did she do any of that? What the court mandated? No, no. I almost lost a house. It was in pre-foreclosure. I did 100% of the work. Hey, you need to get out the house. Hey, I got movers for you. Hey, the movers already packed your stuff. Hey, where do you want it at?
Hmm.
Nothing. I got my stuff out the house. The car that I bought for the family, it was under my name, but the court says that car, she needs to pay it. But if she's late, 30 days, then you can take it. I gave her 90 days, and then I had to go get it.
Hmm.
Till
Hmm.
this day. And the court says nothing about that. Oh well, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
Certain things she's done with the kids, which is like, oh, I got a call on this because I don't want to have on me a failure to protect. There are certain things that happened, and I went in for emergency custody. It went before the judge. He says, nah, nah, it's okay. Nah. I go in there to the judge. I go into the court system with nice suit and tie, looking presentable. She comes in there with short shorts with holes in them, tattoos everywhere, and a sweater on and a hoodie. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
We go through the
Wow.
mediator. We go to the mediator, and I go in there first, and she's asking, so what's going on? Can we agree on something? I come out, she goes in there, and I see after she comes out, I see there's some tissue on the desk. Oh, she put the waterworks on.
Wow. Knows how to play the game.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot of things that happen in the court system that she never did do any, like she never did follow any mandate from the court. I followed it to the T, but still, nothing came of it. There was no, nothing came of it. So I was like, wow, she just got away with everything on here. She got away with everything. There's instances to where we have a set date that we exchange the kids. She didn't show up. So I go to the house. She's not taking the kids. So I take the kids. I take the kids back. Even her mom's there. No, she's not taking the kids. She's got some issues going on. Well, then if you have those issues, mental or whatever otherwise, then you need to give me full custody of the kids. No, you're not having that, but you just need to take the kids.
Wow.
Then she goes off on a vacation because I have the kids. I've had the kids for like, I don't know. It was weeks, months straight, about a month or two straight. We do a 1 week on, 1 week off. She didn't show up. So I had to take them, which was fine. But if I'm gonna
Hmm.
do that, give me full custody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
and
kind of.
I presented that to the court and everything, and nothing, nothing. But I can see how they look at me. And from that point, I've always said, I'm a black man that was married to, a white woman.
Yeah.
She's going to come in there with the waterworks. She and her mom is a paralegal in another state. But state to state laws they don't cross over well, right? They're different laws, different states. But, she gets her advice from her mom, and, she's not held accountable for anything that she doesn't do. And,
Hmm.
and that's frustrating because I'm already losing that battle. And to fight it
Right.
more, It's money.
It's money.
What do
Yeah.
I get? What do I get out of this? What do I get out of this? I'm
Yeah.
pumping tens and thousands of dollars just for her not to do what the court told her to do.
That I think that's just crazy. I can't wrap my mind around such a biased system. And maybe it's because you're in the state of California, with the history of, a high profile situation that happened back in the 90s, right? Talking about OJ Simpson and Nicole Simpson. And I wonder if that was something that shifted the way that the court system operates based on their perspective. Yeah. So
And it
that's
did.
a
And that's
question.
what I was told.
Wow.
That's what I was told. It's like, okay, you're a male.
Yeah.
Even though nothing has happened, you're a male. You need to leave the house. You guys, you have to
Right.
go.
Right.
Because in the state of California, it's like, okay, even if it's unfounded, even there if there's no evidence, they need to protect, right? So they said, okay, you gotta go. Well, I didn't do anything. I don't care. She said something happened. You gotta go. And then later on, it comes out like, okay, you were right. Nothing did happen. Okay, so now what? Well, now, you guys just start from here, figure out how you're going to sell the house, figure out all this other stuff. I'm like, well, still, the damage has been done. I've been kicked out
Right.
my house for months. What do I get out of that? You know? But that's just how it is, So I dislike the court system. It
Mhm, mhm.
doesn't fare well for me. It didn't. I can't
Yeah.
say for all, you know, men of color, but it didn't fare well for me. So I tried to go another route and swallow my pride and try to, you know, talk to, the ex, even though that's hard as well, but try to talk to the ex and be like, let's get this together because she doesn't want to go to court just as much as I don't want to go to court.
Right.
But yet and still, she'll try to put things out so she can get extra stuff from me.
Right. And I mean, I appreciate you so much for sharing your perspective because, again, there's this overarching thought of deadbeat dads, right? Fathers that don't do right by their mothers, by the children of the mothers, or you know what I mean when I say that, or by their
Right.
children, right? So you're rare in the fact that one, you're trying to do all that you can to make sure your children are happy, healthy, whole. And then the additional responsibility of taking care of the fact that they're special needs. So there's additional things, right, that you have to accommodate for. But for you to come on here and to share your story is like it means a lot because I feel like there's other single fathers out there. And I know that you're remarried and you have that partnership with your wife now that's been stepping in and helping tremendously. But,
Yes.
there might be other single fathers that are out there that are experiencing what you're experiencing, that are feeling like they're by themselves, that are probably wanting to give up and say, you know what, you have the kids because maybe the court system is pushing it to where they feel like there's no other option but to walk away. So I just want to say thank you for sharing. And then I want to ask you, because I know been on here for a little bit, but I want to ask you a question. What would you want people in general, society, if you were to talk to a single father, even, what would you want them to understand about your journey or know? Like, what would be one thing that you would want to say?
You have to trust. You have to trust in God. You have to trust your faith. There's been plenty of times I was going to give up. Plenty of times. Pray about it. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but seriously, pray about it. The answer's going to come. There's been miracles that happen, and I say miracles as far as wow, this just landed in my lap for some reason. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God,
Yeah.
because I didn't know what I was going to do the next day after that. And I truly believe, even though it may not seem like it, I truly, truly believe that
Mhm.
God is not going to give you more than what you can handle.
Yeah.
And I believe that. It may look rough now. It may be like, everything is just crumbling and tumbling and just going down at your feet. He knows your heart. God knows your heart. And that's all that needs to be, God knows your heart. So he's gonna help you out.
Yeah.
There's other
I
people, as you can see, there's other people out there.
mhm.
I am one of them. I'm not saying my journey is done because I still go through stuff. But there's other people out there. You just gotta trust God, pray about it, keep your faith.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And so I'm gonna follow up with a Bible verse because I usually end. my sessions or my podcasts or this recording with the Bible verse, and just kind of coming off of what you just said. It's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So it's that trusting in him. And Damon, boy, I know we've talked,
Yes.
and I've seen tremendous, I want to use the word growth, but it's really healing is what I want to say. So, however many years ago that was, the one phone call we had to today,
Yeah.
the amazing things that God has done in your life, the people that he's brought in your life, the forward progress, maybe because it might not have seen that you've made forward progress, but you have. And then the growth and healing that I noticed that you have. And so, as your baby sister, I'm super proud of you. Um,
Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
proud of you even being on here and sharing your story, but to navigate this journey well with grace, to be the bigger person, and to continue to fight for your family.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I try, and it's not without, a lot of heartache and stuff, but
Yeah.
if God be for me, who could be against
Be
me?
against you. Right. So we're in expectation of even amazing things that you're going to share. So definitely thank you again. My brother is on social media, but not really on social media. So I'm not going to ask you to, he's not on social media, y'all. He's not on it. So just to forget that I said that. So he's not going to put anything out as far as where you could follow him, which I completely understand. But definitely, if you all have any comments, encouraging words, if you need encouragement, single father, on a situation that you're dealing with, and you might need to connect to my brother, depending, we can make that happen. But we want to one. Yeah, I come on here because it's letting people know that you're not by yourself. You're not alone on this journey. There are other people that are like you that are going through similar things that have overcome. And my brother is one. I'm one, but oh my goodness. Yeah.
If I can share that, that's great.
Yeah.
Strength in numbers, strength
Yeah.
in numbers. So yeah.
And I think single fathers, single dads, y'all need a community of your own. So, Damon, I'm not putting that on your shoulders and handing that to you as a goal. But hey, if you want to do it,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
for you 100%. But I think it's interesting that, we're in a household and we grew up with two parents in our household, but how we've kind of navigated a similar journey. It's kind of amazing concept, which, that's a conversation for another time. But I love you so much. I know that I'm going to see you in person soon. Thank you so much
Oh
for your
yeah,
time. This was a joy to have. Tell your wife hello, kiss your kids for me.
I
And
will.
to everyone that has been listening, been watching, thank you so much for your time. And until next time, I'm going to put a challenge out there. Y'all let me know what topics you want to discuss as single parenthood's a journey. I'm going to have another guest come on, and me and her, we're going to talk about something a little bit more sensitive. But I'm excited about how all that's going to pan out. But again, thank you for your time, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is in the world, and we will see you soon.